And what's your name?
Well,
Jim. Okay.
and I'm from, well, I was born in East Chicago, Indiana,
Okay.
grew up in Gary, Indiana,
Okay.
and then moved out to LaPorte
Okay.
in about 74.
Okay. So you've been in this area since.
Yeah.
Okay. And Jim, did you grow up here?
No, a farm boy from West Central Illinois,
Okay. All right. Oh, what town?
Winchester,
Winchester.
west of Jacksonville, west of
Okay.
Springfield.
Okay. Where? What high school was it?
Winchester High School,
Okay.
there were 463 in my class.
Oh, wow. Okay. There were 963 in my high
Wow.
school or something like that. Okay.
You want to ask John to?
Sure. John, can you hear us?
You got to unmute his phone with a second. There you go.
Okay, yes, I had to unmute. I hear
Where are you from? Are you from Michigan City originally?
myself. No, I grew up in Shelbyville, Indiana, with
Oh, okay.
IU and then moved up here afterwards. My wife taught at the high school for several years with it.
Okay.
So she's interested in seeing this gentleman. It was probably after he or before he came into play.
Okay, gotcha. So as I was mentioning, I grew up in Evanston, which is a suburb of Chicago, first suburb north of Chicago, on the lake, where Northwestern University is. I guess I asked because I just want to see kind of, who's really, cut us open here and who really bleeds blue and gray, Michigan City blue and gray, but yes.
Graduate from
Jessica,
Michigan
sure.
Got about one
But we
person.
all have our own, obviously had our own experiences growing up. We all went to high school.
My
We all
numbers
remember-
were blue and gold, by the way.
Okay.
'Cause I went to Bishop Knoll and taught at.
Oh,
Bishop
did you? Okay.
Knoll.
my
Well,
son-
I went to Bishop Knoll, taught at Bishop Knoll, and then taught at Notre Dame. So
Oh,
blue and
okay.
gold kind
Wow.
of fits in there. pretty
My
well.
wife worked at taught at Bishop Knoll for a few years.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, theology. So we all have our, high school athletic experience. We're all familiar with high school athletic departments. So, I asked Jessica to come here because I'm promoting a golf outing we're having. But, so I've got the flyers about that. But obviously, I see this as a chance to update you guys about Michigan City High School athletics.
Mhm.
But I was thinking about it, this is almost better said to a larger crowd, but I was thinking about it this morning, and so I started making some notes, and honestly, like I'm gonna just kind of spin it in a little bit of different direction, if that's okay with you, Jessica.
Do your
Okay. So I made a list of all these improvements that we've had, things like the track dedication ceremony for our new track, and you guys might have seen we got new bleachers, we've got a new weight room that we got a huge grant for this year from the Healthcare Foundation of LaPorte County. We've had some successes, like our football team did great this year. We had a girls golfer who was conference MVP and went downstate, things like that. I think that that's kind of the typical speech. It tells you guys typically what's going on with Michigan City high school athletics and why you should support us. And, just knowing that you guys are in Rotary, even if you didn't grow up here in Michigan City, I know that you support our town, our high school, our athletic department. So it's not really a question of support, but I wanted to give you a little bit. So then I thought I'd take it in actually a different direction. I wanted to give you guys a little bit more realistic impression of what we do and why you should support us. So I made a list here of, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is 8 different situations just off the top of my head that I came up with this morning. And as you guys know, there's a ton of these, just a ton of these. We have a transgender, suicidal basketball manager. We support her every day. We check in with her every day. I should say him. We check in with him every day, even during the summer now. We make sure that this kid gets to school every day. I'm gonna cry. Gets to school every day.
It's a coach,
No, a student.
a student.
A student, me and the basketball coach make sure that this person is okay every day of his life. And give him a ride home all the time. Do whatever we have to do to make sure that she just lives, another day.
So is it she or?
It's a female who's transitioning to it.
So he identifies as he.
Yes, yeah.
How old is he?
He's just a freshman this past year. I mean, counseling, goes to counseling. Yeah, goes to counseling 3 times a week for like 4 hours a day.
Oh, we're going to private grade.
I mean-
We didn't invite him to the private grade.
Oh, I mean,
I would love to take him, but I don't think it's the
no,
environment.
no.
It is, but isn't.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So-
Right. But I mean, he'll tell you it was almost an accident that he became involved with basketball as a manager, but he'll tell you that basketball is saving his life, you know, and that it gives him something to do every day. That's one. I can tell you personally about, just to tell it as a story, our German teacher called me one day about 4 years ago, asking me if I could look into this cheerleader who was having trouble getting to class and having to come to class consistently. And that's, you know, my job as an athletic director. And I also like to point out that, you know, I don't just care about the football and basketball players, you know, I care about the cheerleaders, the swimmers, the track kids, you know, whatever.
What do you expect they take care of themselves? I'm just kidding.
So I go to pull this girl out of class. And I'm like, what's going on? You know, why aren't you doing well in German? She just starts bawling. She just starts telling me how she's the oldest of 8 kids. And her dad's in jail. Her mother works the night shift. Her grandmother, they live in a trailer. Her grandmother's sometimes there and sometimes not. And she has to make sure all her younger brothers and sisters get to school every day before she can come. So she's been showing up like 9 o'clock every day, you know?
Jeez.
So from that point on, I support her. I'm still in touch with her. I mean, she's graduated 2 years ago. She's pregnant. I just gave her a crib and a baby seat and, you know, a bunch of stuff. Her younger sister's there now. I check in with her younger sister every day. Our cheer coaches did a great job of making sure that, you know, her and her younger sister go to class, have something to do, you know, are trying to be as productive as possible. And just look out for these guys, you know. Let's see the next one. Coach Wells, our basketball coach is Tom Wells. We had a situation about a year ago where 3 of our kids were at the scene and involved in a murder that happened over at Merrillville High School. Happened in the parking lot of Merrillville High School. Another kid that they were with shot somebody.
Out of like a school.
This is just some beef that kids had.
Okay.
One of the kids was actually one of our 3 student athletes who were involved was actually arrested, charged with murder, put in jail. And Coach Wells went to every single hearing and talked to him on the phone by the system like every day. He ended up getting the charges dropped because he wasn't the shooter. You know, the other 2 kids had been questioned. They went through this whole questioning process and weren't charged. Excuse me, man. But our basketball coach was there every day, you know, for this kid and supporting him through, you know, one of the most traumatic experiences of his life, you know. Next one is a kid we've got named Elijah now, who lives in Green Acres trailer home. And me and Coach Wells have been picking him up. The school year ended, but me and Coach Wells spent about the last 3 months of the school year. One of us picked him up every day. And that was the only way he was going to get to school. Our football coach, Coach Mason, you might have seen this in the news, unfortunately, but we had a football player 2 or 3 years ago who got arrested for burglarizing Rio's taco stand.
Oh,
And, you know, me and Coach Mason went to his juvenile hearing, went and picked him up when he got out of the juvenile detention center that he had been held at, supported him through every step of the process. He's since moved to Las Vegas, which is good that he's, you know, gotten out of town. But again, one of our coaches and adults just trying to fill in the gaps and support these young people like they need to be supported, you know? No, I'm good. Appreciate it. Let's see another one. We've got a volleyball player who lives with a woman she just met. Her parents are both drug addicts. She was doing poorly in school. She's a sophomore now. She just finished her sophomore year. Her freshman year, she did really poorly. She just obviously always had, you know, mental health issues, and super smart girl. Her grades are no problem when she tries, but she was, you know, because of her living situation and because of the depression that she was suffering, her attendance was terrible. You know, she just wasn't coming to school a lot. She played volleyball her freshman year, which is a fall sport, so that's why she's brand new to us. And we were, you know, giving her extra love and support at that time. I saw her, me and another teacher, this guy or one of our other teachers at school, have been on this girl, you know, almost every day, her whole freshman, sophomore year. She played volleyball again her sophomore year, then played softball this spring. That's a spring sport. And Jocelyn McCray, our volleyball coach, Sarah Krasinski, our softball coach, just took this girl under her wing, and you could just see her mental health improve. And second semester, she had a great semester. She got all A's and B's. Her living situation, while it's not with her parents, is pretty stable. The woman's very good to her, very nice to her. I would see her like dancing to the warm-up music and softball games, and just know that she was, able to put a smile on her face, and that things were getting better for her. Another girl who, again, two parents who disappeared. All she does, she plays soccer and softball for us, and works in the winter. And, she's a 4.0 student. Again, somebody that leans on our coaches every day for support. She's kind of better than the first girl I mentioned in taking care of herself. She's really never suffered mental health issues. She's really never, her grades have never really fallen off. She's always got a positive attitude. But, without sports and without these coaches mentoring her and being in her life, it would just be a sadder situation. Last one I'll mention, and again, these are all off the top of my head. Again, last one I'll mention. And when I say they're off the top of my head, you guys know all these people around Michigan City yourselves. You could name 10 people yourselves who have these dire circumstances or have had traumatic experiences. Last one's a little bit simpler, but we had a girl on our track team, and one of our track coaches, who's actually not coming back, mistakenly told the girl that she was not going to be able to run in our DAC conference track meet unless she had spikes. And she can't afford spikes. She couldn't afford spikes, and she was very upset. And I was telling her, like, we're not keeping you out of a meet because you don't have the right shoes. It's not a requirement. You might not be as fast without spikes, but the coach is wrong. But our unified track coach, one of our other coaches, got wind of this, and the next day just brought her a new pair of shoes. And you should have seen the smile on her face. I mean, she was ecstatic. So the point of all that is, again, you shouldn't support us because we're dedicating our track to somebody. You shouldn't support us because our football team is good, or anything like that. You should support us because we're working with our kids here in Michigan City and trying to make them the best people we can. And
You care, though. Like you guys are doing what's
Yeah.
You're like saying, this is
yeah,
passion.
it's not about
This is
sports
not
for
about
us at
taking
all.
on a
I mean,
job. No teachers ever taken on a job. Just
we're a
like you.
social service industry, or a social service agency in our athletic department. And I'll even take pride in this, in the fact that, to me, we do more of this than other athletic departments. I mean, I'm not saying that there's people who don't care at other schools, but we know what kind of populations we work with here at Michigan City. And I personally have gone out of my way to try and hire coaches with empathy and people who care about kids and aren't just in it for the sport or anything like that. So, that's really what we're trying to do with our athletic department. And it goes beyond that. I mean, Jesse can tell us about the Friday Night Live event. Some of the kids that I didn't put on this list are because they're not student athletes. But there's 4 or 5 other kids that I personally go around and check in with every day, text, and make sure that they show up for school and whatnot. And just, we're trying to make a contribution even beyond athletics. And wherever we see a need, we try and fill it. But that's what the Friday Night Live is about. So, fun night for kids to come out and hang out at the school.
It was like an open gym.
Yeah,
event
open gym,
with
open
other
house. Yeah,
activities included, but it
yeah.
kinda
We had
centered
a couple
around-
hundred kids come out to the high school and just hang out on Friday.
Oh, nice.
I
Yeah,
think those are the
it's great.
athletics in themselves, though. Like that's a good outlet for kids with low
Yeah.
self-esteem.
it's
or
fantastic.
emotional problems.
Yeah.
That low mood.
It is.
So I think that just being aware that this stuff does exist.
Yeah.
Coming into kind of a generation where,
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like I grew up in a generation where it was not acceptable. Like,
Uh-huh.
but you have stuff like this where it's cool, and we all have it. We just identify it. differently,
Yeah.
Right?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I feel like so many of these kids don't have ways to identify it, especially with. I mean, we're all old enough to be these kids' parents.
Yeah.
Respectively.
Yeah.
right? I think.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So, I mean, we're seeing their parents not doing what we feel is right, and it's not like we can tell their parents how to be parents.
No, and we
Right.
everybody has their own struggles.
But you care and they don't. That's the problem.
Well, I
Like,
mean, but we're not here to judge the parents either. I mean, I can't.
Yeah.
I've never worked or never walked a mile in their shoes.
Right.
I mean, but
Everyone's got highs and lows, but I think it's just great that you guys are taking the step
yeah,
to actually care about the kids beyond like hey, it's 4:15, like,
Yeah.
you can say for another 15 minutes, just. I'm
No,
gonna
it's
walk out.
not.
You know,
I
it's,
mean,
you
you should see
know,
Coach Wells. I didn't even mention this one. Coach Wells, during the basketball season, has study halls at his house every night. I mean, basically Monday through Thursday night.
It
At
makes
least
it hard.
half our basketball team is going over to his house and doing their homework. And his wife's actually a grade school English teacher in LaPorte. And she, I mean, she tutors these, she's putting all her time and heart and passion and soul into these kids and their education. You know, it goes much beyond the, not 9 to 5, but it goes much beyond the 9 to 5, you know, for sure.
The 9 to 5 is just to get you, to give you the opportunity to work with the kids and give them better opportunity.
Yeah.
to Know that those resources exist.
Yeah.
But you profile a situation that is pervasive around the country. How do we institutionalize this beautiful system that you have?
I don't think you can, I don't think you can count on athletic departments to do that. You know, it's funny, I was gonna say, it's, the world has changed a lot, just like we were talking about with the organization, but the kids have not changed. You know, they still are scared, or they're still inexperienced, they still have insecurities, you know, they still bring all those things to the table. I mean, unfortunately, the answer to the question is that there are other functions at schools, like counseling departments, you know, that
Are they effective?
I wouldn't say so, and I wouldn't say so at Michigan City High School, and not to downplay us, but I think we have 1 or 2 social workers on staff now, and they're both good. One especially is great, Heather Drake's great, but for years, we didn't have a social worker at Michigan City High School. And I'm thinking, I would always talk to these kids, and like, I consider myself a, you know, intelligent, rational, mature adult. But I'm not a mental health, yeah, you laugh. Not my best age, but I'm not a mental health professional. You know, I shouldn't be giving kids
What's your passion? about
advice
athletes?
on mental health issues, on depression. You know, I can't, I mean, I could be wrong, you know?
I have a grandson. His father passed away 3 months ago. He was an honor student in Evanston. He didn't pass. Didn't go to school. So we're going through the same scenario.
Well, what's lucky for our kids on the teams is that they have the teams. And that's an extra level of eyes on them, you know, an extra level of support, obviously. You know, every story I told you, every, you know, anecdote I told you was about a student athlete. There are kids who aren't athletes who have these problems around our school and don't have the coach checking in on them. You know, when something like that happens to, and I'm sure good things happen in Evanston too, but when something like that happens to one of our student athletes, in fact, we had a kid a couple of years ago on our football team. He's at Indiana University now, and his dad died. His dad tragically died. His dad was like in his late 30s and tragically died. And we obviously rallied around him for support for him, you know, but again, he's on the football team, you know.
Mine was
Other kids
soccer.
who aren't. Okay, and I'm sure the soccer team can get support, you know.
He dropped out of soccer.
Oh, okay, all right,
So he loved me.
yeah, yeah, so that's what we try and do, you know, with our athletes, you know, is be there for them like that. But I mean, just and being an empathetic person myself, it's like I see all these problems. I wish I could help them all, you know. You can't help them all, just can't. I mean, the kid I was telling you about that we pick up from Green Acres every day, he lives with his grandparents, and they're alcoholics. His mom has been in and out of jail with drug problems. And at one point during the spring, the grandparents said to Coach Wells, you know, we'll sign over guardianship to you. And he was like, you know, I'm doing everything I can. Like he can stay at my house, you know, 2, 3, 4 nights a week, but I'm not taking over guardianship. But I mean, we do as much as we can, you know.
That's all you can do.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, there's another girl, I still remember this. This girl was on the volleyball team, not this past school year, two school years ago. And there was a night after a game, she was just sitting in the corner holding her keys and just shaking. And one of our coaches went up to her and asked her what was wrong. She said she was scared to go home because her mom was gonna be mad at her for being late. I don't know, beat her, I don't know, hit her or not, but you know. And, you know, we started supporting her more and more, doing home visits, you know, doing wellness checks on her. She actually transferred to, she's in Palatine now, living with her dad, so she's not with us anymore. But just again, situations you see,
It's amazing.
it is, it's crazy. It's crazy. So here's our golf outing. We'll take your money.
If you have this already.
I already talked to him, he's getting it together
Oh, okay.
I'm working
All
on
right.
getting a few people together, so are you
Okay.
foursomes or
for some.
are you guys doing only foursomes? I didn't read through it.
I have a solo who can join a foursome. He's
Okay.
fun and he drinks,
Okay.
a friend of mine.
Right.
If you have less than 4, at this point, we have openings. So if you have less than 4, however many you got, we'll take.
Right.
And then just golf is less than.
You have plenty of room for.
Yes, and honestly speaking, we'll take any level of support too. Because the golf outing is a week from tomorrow and they're still opening, so just try to promote it and spread the word.
And I will